The Last Chapter. Chapter 1. The Empty Nest. Claire Bennett stood in the silence of her suburban home. The walls seemed to echo with the memories of her children's laughter, their footsteps, their lives. It had been 6 months since her youngest, Emily, had left for college, and the house had never felt so empty. At 58, Claire was facing a new chapter in her life, one she hadn't fully prepared for. She wandered into the kitchen, where a framed family photo hung on the wall. It was a picture from their last vacation together, taken at a beach in Florida. Claire, her husband, Mark, and their 2 children, Emily and 25-year-old Daniel, were smiling, their faces lit by the golden sunset. They looked happy, united, whole. But now, with the kids gone and Mark spending more and more time at work, Claire felt adrift. Her days had once been filled with carpools, PTA meetings, and soccer games. Now, she spent her mornings sipping coffee alone, flipping through old photo albums, and wondering what her purpose was. Mark had suggested she take up a hobby, gardening, painting, maybe even volunteering, but nothing seemed to fill the void. One afternoon, as she sorted through a box of Emily's old school projects, she found a journal tucked beneath a stack of drawings. It was her own journal from years ago, back when she was a young mother. As she flipped through the pages, she was struck by her own words. "Someday, when the kids are grown, I'll write my story. Maybe it'll help someone else feel less alone." Claire stared at the words, a spark of inspiration igniting within her. Maybe it was time to stop waiting and start writing. Chapter 2. The Rediscovery. Claire had always loved to write. As a teenager, she'd filled notebooks with poems and short stories. In college, she dreamed of becoming a novelist, but life had taken her in a different direction. Marriage, motherhood, and the demands of everyday life had pushed her passion to the sidelines. Now she wondered if it was too late to pick up where she'd left off. She cleared a space in the living room, setting up a small desk by the window. She bought a new laptop, a notebook, and a pen she'd always admired. The first few days were frustrating. Every sentence felt forced, every idea unoriginal. But she kept at it, remembering the advice she'd given Emily years ago. Don't be afraid to start. The first step is always the hardest. Slowly, the words began to flow. She started with her own story, a girl growing up in a small town in Ohio, navigating the challenges of adolescence, falling in love, and becoming a mother. She wrote about the joys and struggles of raising a family, the lessons she'd learned, and the dreams she'd put on hold. She wrote about Mark, their ups and downs, and how their love had evolved over the years. As the pages filled, Claire felt a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. Writing wasn't just a hobby anymore. It was her way of making sense of her life, of leaving something behind. Chapter 3. The Connection. One day, while browsing online, Claire stumbled upon a writing group for women over 50. They met once a week at a local bookstore to share their work and offer feedback. Claire hesitated before signing up. She hadn't shared her writing with anyone in decades, and the thought of being vulnerable was daunting. But she knew she needed to take the leap. At the first meeting, Claire felt out of place. The other women seemed so confident, so accomplished. But as they began to share their stories, she realized they were all navigating the same uncertainties: empty nests, changing relationships, the search for meaning. When it was her turn to read, Claire's voice wavered, but she pressed on. The room fell silent as she finished, and for a moment she feared they hadn't connected with her words. Then, one of the women, a retired teacher named Gwen, spoke up. "Claire, that was beautiful. You've captured something so universal, so honest. Please keep writing." The others nodded. Their encouragement filled Claire with a sense of belonging. For the first time in months, she didn't feel alone. Chapter 4. The Turning Point. As the weeks turned into months, Claire's writing flourished. She joined an online writing community, took a creative writing class, and even started a blog where she shared her essays and reflections. To her surprise, people responded. Readers thanked her for her honesty, for putting into words what they couldn't express themselves. Claire realized her story wasn't just hers. It was a story for anyone who'd ever felt lost, who'd ever wondered what came next. Mark noticed the change in her too. "You seem happier," he said one evening as they sat on the porch. "What's going on?" Claire smiled. "I'm writing again. It's like I found a part of myself I'd forgotten about." Mark reached for her hand. "I'm glad. You've always had a way with words. I just wish you hadn't waited so long to share them." Claire squeezed his hand, feeling a mix of gratitude and regret. Better late than never, right? Chapter 5. The Legacy. One rainy afternoon, Claire received an email from a small publishing house. They'd read her blog and were interested in turning her essays into a memoir. Claire couldn't believe it. She'd dreamed of being published once, but she'd never imagined it would happen now, in this chapter of her life. Over the next year, Claire worked tirelessly on her memoir. She revisited the places and people that had shaped her, reconnecting with old friends and family members. She wrote about the joys and heartaches of motherhood, the complexities of marriage, and the beauty of second chances. And through it all, she discovered something she hadn't expected: a renewed sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of who she was. When the book was finally published, Claire held the first copy in her hands, tears streaming down her face. It was a culmination of everything she'd experienced, everything she'd learned. But more than that, it was a reminder that it's never too late to chase your dreams, to tell your story, to find your voice. Epilogue. The Last Chapter. Claire stood at the front of the bookstore, her heart racing as she prepared to read from her memoir. The room was filled with strangers, friends, and family. Emily and Daniel had even flown in to surprise her. As she began to read, her voice was steady, her words clear. "Life is a series of chapters," she said, "each one building on the last. Some chapters are harder than others, but they all lead us to where we're meant to be. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters come later, when we least expect them." When she finished, the room erupted in applause. Emily rushed to hug her. "Mom, I'm so proud of you," she whispered. Claire held her daughter close, feeling a sense of completeness she hadn't felt in years. Her story wasn't over. It was still being written. And as she looked around the room at the people who had shaped her journey, she knew the best was yet to come. The end.